Anakin.
We are.
Hello to those joining us through Ustream. We are going to kick off the second half of our morning with Allan Gyorke, who's the Director of Education Technology Services. Allan's going to be talking with us about how new trends in technology are impacting higher education, especially here at Penn State. So, Allan, thanks very much.
Yeah, this is a short talk, limited to 15 minutes, but I'm going to make it even shorter so we can get a little bit back on time. So really, the focus of this is looking at the horizon, looking at some of the, not just technologies, but really pedagogical approaches, and how technology is kind of enabling those, and some of the questions that you can help me answer by thinking about these, because it's really not about the computer systems, it's more about the application and implications of those. So one of them is learning analytics. I don't know if you've heard of learning analytics before. The idea is really adopted from something like Google Analytics, which would let somebody look at website traffic and say, you know, how are our customers coming in and that sort of thing. So the focus now is looking at technological systems and analyzing student activity. And so this is a screenshot that I took during a Desire to Learn conference. And I know it's a little blurry here, but so they have a profile of a student. This is Audrey Hepburn, and it's showing how she's performing in each of her classes. So she's, these are her scores, 95. There's an 82% in the current college engagement, and that's a downtrending activity. So maybe she's not as active with clubs and organizations as she was in previous semesters. And here's some of her performance. Here's another area. This is a history course, and while her test scores are fine, her social engagement within that course is only at 59%. So she is possibly in danger of not doing as well in this course. And then there's kind of a mapping schematic over here of her activity in one of these courses, showing that there are students who are highly connected to each other. They're commenting on each other's blogs, like Cole was talking about before. People are having blogs, and it's really the comments that drive student engagement. And then you have Audrey Hepburn here, who's blogging all off by herself. She's not commenting on anybody's blog. Nobody's commenting on her. She's really being isolated. So that's a potential warning flag that a faculty member or an advisor could see, and then say maybe there's an intervention that would be useful for her. Say if this were a class in economics, they could say, okay, your overall test scores are fine, but they're on a downward trend. Students who've had this trend in the past end up failing the final exam. So maybe she should be alerted that her performance isn't quite as good as the other students in the class, and she could go to a tutoring session or something. So some of the questions that this raises are, what are the ethical issues related to learning analytics? We're really diving into student records. If a learning management system records are compared with, say, library activity, is that a violation of students' privacy, where we could actually see what books they're checking out? And I know there's some questions around that. And then how can we ensure that technology doesn't drive design decisions? Just because something is easy to answer and easy to quantify, that doesn't mean it's the best thing to do. It's the same question that many of you are faced whenever you're trying to grade papers. Are there computer programs that can be set up to grade philosophy papers? Well, sure, but then it comes across a quote like, what was it, Chris? The reader
writes the text.
The reader writes the text, and it would mark that as wrong, right? The reader, no, the reader doesn't write the text, but what is a powerful statement would be not seen by a computer as a logical argument. So those are the kind of things that we need your help thinking through. Some of the activities that we're doing right now, we have currently a faculty fellow position, Simon Hooper in the College of Education. He's had an interest in assessments and student analytics for quite some time, so we're working with him. We have, there's going to be some learning analytics tools that are going to be tied into Angel, so we'll explore those and see what that provides. And then there's a service called highlighter.com, and of course English 202B, we're going to be attaching those together. And what that does is it helps a faculty member see a record of their students. Like this student is highlighting many passages, they're commenting on other students' highlights. So it's kind of a way to see the engagement in the course using that technology. Badge systems, I'm not sure if you've heard of badge systems before. The idea really goes back to the old, Boy Scouts, they get the merit badges, Girl Scouts. In a lot of social media applications, you get badges for participation. Foursquare, you become the mayor of a town. There could be a ranking list. These are the epic bloggers, people who achieve a certain status through their participation. So this is STEM Scouts, which is a program that Kyle Peck has set up to encourage participation of elementary school and middle school, well, really K through 12, in science, technology, engineering, and math. And so students can earn NATMs. These are things like some basic understanding. Those can be compiled into knowlecules, which become project patches. Like you're able to complete a conservation project. You're able to complete a biology understanding photosynthesis project. Those become maker medals, which are things like mastery in certain topic areas, and then finally STEM blooms. So the idea is that going from a very early age, people will be able to participate in small components that add up to these bigger areas, and build upon those throughout their career, and being kind of recognized for their activity. So some of the questions related to badges that we're dealing with. What ways will they disrupt traditional university degrees? There's a lot of concern that, if we have badges, degrees are going to be meaningless. People will just be able to go around to a series of online courses and be able to assemble their own degree. I'm more interested in what this means for things like transcripts. So if I get an A in a course, well, say if I get a B+ in a course like economics, what does that really mean? Do I have a mastery of supply and demand, and I just have some missing information about mortgage payments or something? What areas have I mastered and what haven't I? So it might become a way to show more specialized expertise in a particular course. Likewise, whenever I talk to people about what isn't on the transcript, so a student goes through it and they create a resume after completing a college degree. It says that they have a certain GPA, but then they also have to add all these other things about student leadership activities. So if somebody participates in Thon, maybe they get a philanthropy badge for having demonstrated that is something that they care about. Maybe if they're on a committee, they also get a leadership badge that demonstrates not only are they an excellent philosopher, but they're also a humanitarian, as measured by a sustained activity. And then, will these be regulated by the university as some kind of certificates? And they could be if they're tied to formal degrees. But in some cases, badges and the ability to earn badges actually drives activity. And we might want that. That might make people game the system. But maybe that's what we want. So in other words, if somebody only needs to complete 2 more service projects to get that philanthropy badge, maybe they'll do that. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Intrinsic and extrinsic rewards, that's a big issue that comes up with badges. So some of the badge activity we're involved with Kyle Peck and the STEM Scouts. Also our education gaming commons has the Econ U game to again explore economics. I've talked a lot about economics today. And Chris Stubbs will be showing that later, but one of the things that they found is that students kept playing the game repeatedly to earn more badges, or more trophies in this case, within the system. Massive open online courses. So the idea behind this is that certain universities like Stanford are going to put on courses about something like artificial intelligence, and 200,000 people are going to participate. These courses are free. They tend to be the best of what universities have to offer, what they're known for. Coursera is one of the offering organizations, Coursera.org. Currently, or recently, they just passed 1 million students, if you can call them students, 1 million participants, or 1 million people who have signed up, maybe. And then take the world's best courses online for free. That's kind of the idea behind this. And so you can see some of the more recent machine intelligence, introduction to sustainability, where universities are really saying, what are we known for, and can we put that online so anyone can participate?
Alan, question?
Yeah.
Is it your sense that these universities will eventually attempt to exploit or commercialize these visitors, and how might they do that?
Yeah, so there have been some questions about that. Oh yeah, the question is it my understanding that these universities are going to try to commercialize these course offerings, and how would they do that? So there has been some discussion about the economic model, because obviously it takes resources to put online courses in place. Even if there are any instructor interactions, that's a lot of man hours if you're talking about 200,000 students. Or if there's some kind of machine grading, then those systems have to be built. So there have been discussions about either having people be able to complete a course, but if you want to get the official certification, then there has to be a payment. So maybe you have to pay $99, and then somebody certifies that yes, you actually understand machine intelligence through some kind of assignment and review process. Another one that I heard was, say if it's a massive open online course about mobile app development, a company who's looking for mobile app developers could pay Coursera or the university, it'd be a split fee, for the students who perform the best in those courses, and that would be their recruitment list. So that's kind of a behind-the-scenes, not upfront economic model. Right now, these are all free, and by definition, massive open online courses are free. Some of them aren't so massive; they might be limited to 500, but that's still more than we typically have in a classroom, aside from Thomas. Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
So some of the questions that I have, what is the value of offering MOOCs that are free and open to the world? And by that, I don't necessarily mean the economic value. I'm saying, as a university that receives public funding, how are we making life better by offering courses, say, on something like sustainability to the world? What does that mean for our alumni? What does that mean for our current students who might feel that they're paying real tuition dollars? They expect real courses, not some online thing. They don't want to be competing with the masses. There were some of those concerns brought up by massive open online course models where there's a cluster of local students, and then their work is being shared with a very broad audience. The students who are on campus felt like they were being ignored or not given as much attention. And then what systems can be used to support these scales? So what does it mean to do a philosophy course of 200,000 people? Can you really have that kind of dialogue with that group, or maybe the group has the dialogue with each other? Some of the MOOC type activity that we're doing, we're working with the College of Local Arts and Architecture right now to do an introduction to visual arts. It's basically kind of like an art appreciation course that talks about the language of the arts, and there's some components about kind of an introduction to drawing element to that. Earth and Mineral Sciences offers a lot of their course materials online for free now, so there's a potential there to develop those into massive open online courses. Center for Sustainability is another one of those. And then could we do a MOOC related to the World in Conversation project, which is Sam Richards, he's already putting videos out online. Could you have a public dialogue around what's happening in the class as kind of a layered approach? And then finally, the idea of e-textbooks. A lot of publishers are saying that they're going to reduce costs for students and increase the number of features available. I went to Know to look at one of these yesterday, and they've improved dramatically since the first time I tested them. It used to be that publishers were just taking static PDFs and putting them in this reader and PDF reader, that's it. I got frustrated whenever looking at them for the first time because the table of contents, for example, would list chapter 1, here's the page numbers, here's the topics, but that wasn't interactive. You couldn't click on that and jump. And that's like a basic feature of hypertext that most of us have gotten used to over the last 15, 20 years. So this is just a screenshot from one of them. It's a page about the structure of cells, and you can touch this image to take a virtual tour. You click that, and the YouTube video goes up, and it shows you like a virtual machine, like being miniaturized and going down and exploring what a cell would actually look like. So some of the questions we have, how are publishers going to strike that balance between taking what would work in the print world and just translating that directly to a mobile device? Publishers are still trying to sell print books. So if you focus all of your energy on creating these videos related to structures of cells instead of explaining that in text, then if you try to make a print version of that, you've lost something. So they have to balance that. Features like social comments, interactive quiz elements, and then things like accessibility. Big concern for us. And then how do we balance some of these offerings with a bring your own device world? And by that I mean we don't have a university mandated buy of iPads. If we did, that would make things a lot easier, because I could say, well, iTunes U is great, iBooks is great, it has a lot of features that let you read some text, look at some videos, buy some apps that are related to the topic at hand. If you want to explore Dante's Inferno, I'm sure there's an app that lets you do that and peel back the layers, see the screaming masses. But you can't do that if you're going to be offering that on Android, because the same set of apps aren't available. If you're offering this through a Kindle, again, you won't have the same set of features. So that will be an interesting challenge. So those are just some of the things that we're looking at on the horizon. If you want to contact me about any of those ideas or other ideas related to new technologies and how they're impacting teaching and learning, please let me know. And I'll put in a shameless plug. If you're working on anything with digital humanities, I'm very interested in those conversations, because anytime that somebody is making that kind of collection of rich data, there are teaching and learning applications for